This Organized Chaos podcast is brought to you by Gems Art Studio. Gems Art Studio is an online store that allows access to prints that you can use for most anything, obviously as just a picture, or as a wallpaper, or as a bookmark, or anything you can think of. You can find Gems Art Studio at etsy.com/shop/Gems Art Studio. This podcast is also brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you. Now, down to the soapbox. And what I'm going to talk about is the struggle going on right now in America. Right now, there are lots of jobs that need filled, and people don't want to fill them after losing their jobs during the pandemic, or leaving their jobs during the pandemic. Now there are lots of jobs openings, and nobody wants to fill them. And the reason why is we have this stimulus. Part of the reason is we do have the stimulus, and coming up, I'll get to that later. What that did was it gave people freedom. It gave people the ability to say, you know what, I'm going to hold out and wait for a better job before I just accept anything that comes along. Because it used to be people were so desperate for money, they would just take any job that comes along no matter where. And now they're capable of saying, you know what, I'm okay for a little bit. I don't need that job. And what this means is that if employers right now are desperate for help, but if they want to actually get help, they actually have to offer a competitive wage. There's an ice cream shop. Look this up. I remember the facts, but I forgot to look it up myself. I should have brought the thing. But there's an ice cream shop that raised their starting wage to $15 an hour. And they actually stopped counting how many new applications they got, because they got over 1,000 in a week. And that's what these employers need to do. They need to raise their starting wage to be competitive, to actually offer a job that people might want to work. You know, hey, this job might be crummier, but you know what? We pay a decent wage. Now, of course, they don't want to do this. So what we end up with is this struggle. And it's essentially a game of chicken. What's going to happen first? Are the people who need an income, are they going to run out of money and just get desperate and take any job they can get? Or are the employers going to start losing significant amounts of money and realize we need good qualified people, we should raise wages so we have people who like working and are motivated to work? And I will tell you, part of the reason some of these places are not wanting to raise wages, because if there's a union, there will be a rule saying you can't hire people that at a starting wage higher than your people who have been there for a while are already making. That's a good thing, in that, you know, people who've been there a while shouldn't be making less than new people. But it will slow down the corporation because they realize they have to raise the wages all the way down the line. And they don't want to do that. In fact, as soon as they get these new people in and they get settled in the job, they'll probably want to drop their wage because fuck them. And when I say fuck them, I'm not speaking from me personally. I'm speaking for the corporation, because these corporations just care about money. The fact is, if they want to do well, they need to bring in good people who are qualified, and those people will be more motivated to do a good job if you pay them a decent wage. So the answer is obvious. Just raise your starting wage, and you'll get people who will be all right working. Because not only that, you can actually get a choice of people, because like the ice cream shop, they got 1,000. They don't need 1,000 employees. They can actually go through and be picky. If your starting wage is $11 an hour, guess what? You're not going to get many applications, and those people who apply, well, you know what? They may not be the best. If they can't get a job anywhere else, you may be dealing with, people down at the bottom of the barrel. And I understand why the corporations are like this, but it's super, super frustrating. These corporations just need to raise their starting wage. And it comes down to that simply. Because people who don't want to go in and work for these corporations that are shitty to them, I 100% get that. They shouldn't. I'll be 100% blunt. I've thought about my job. And one of the things really keeping me right now is I have a fair amount of vacation time. If I go somewhere else, I'm not going to get as much vacation time. And that's a serious drawback for me because I want to use that to spend time with my family. But we'll have to see how that goes because I do have a bachelor's degree that's going way underserved right now. But you know what? I've worked through this pandemic. I'll see how it goes from here on out. But, you know, if I were just looking for a new job and starting a new job, I wouldn't start where I'm at now. That's the thing. If I started where I'm at now, I won't be making the pay I'm currently at. If it was the job I started this job at, I wouldn't go where I'm at right now. And that's a lot of people are considering. And these jobs need to offer good, well-paying jobs. And they're not. It's just this tug of war. It's super frustrating, but at the same time, this is a time where workers have some power. And I don't remember who said this, but they brought that this was essentially kind of like a general strike. It's not like a real general strike where everybody just says, you know, fuck it, we're not going to work. But it's like a pseudo general strike right now where people who are out of work saying, I don't want to go back unless you offer me something worth going back to. And that's where we have to. And the hope is that maybe, like, holding out long enough, they can actually raise wages. Because obviously we aren't getting $15 an hour anytime soon from the federal government. We can't count on that. One thing, now these corporations do have an ace in the hole in that they have so much money. A lot of these, like some of these businesses from the pandemic, came away from that pandemic richer than they were before. So they can hold out for a long time. Because the thing to remember, a lot of small businesses went under during the pandemic, and the big ones made so much money. The only hope that the regular people have is that we do have this child tax credit thing coming that will help keep people afloat for a little bit longer. And the hope is, hopefully these corporations decide, hey, maybe we can get decent workers, because that's the thing. They shoot themselves in the foot by paying these low wages. If they paid people a decent wage and had people actually motivated to work for them, instead of just, you know, people who just don't give a shit. Have people who are motivated to work for you. You'll get better quality of work, and in the end, you will make more money. As it is, if you nickel and dime people, they realize you are nickel and diming them, and then they don't give a shit. So, my moral here is, corporations, you want to hire good, qualified employees? There's an easy fix to that. Provide a good starting wage, and voila, it's fixed. I want to go ahead and add some audio credits at the end here. The theme music you're hearing at the beginning and end of this podcast was written and performed by George Johnson, a very good friend of mine. And my current Patreons are Fel Martins, David Lara, and Lindsay Pankhurst. If you'd like to become a patron, go ahead and follow the link down below. Anything you can provide would be incredibly helpful to this channel. We're barely limping by right now. I'd love to make this my full-time job. I'm miles away from that right now. So any help you could provide, just $1 a month would be amazing. You know you want to. All your friends are doing it.